What do you think will be the outcome of the two expressions you can see now on the screen? In this video, you will find the answer and code samples with explanations so that you can become more proficient with Groovy Truth. Let's explain it on a couple examples. To demonstrate, we will use this simple conditional structure. Let's start with simple objects like numbers and strings. A number, either positive or negative, evaluates to true. This likely feels intuitive because you know that in Groovy a number is represented as an object. But let's try 0.0. Now you may expect that because this number is an instance of a big decimal class, this should be treated as true, but it's actually treated as false. So be really careful when making conditions for numbers where checking if number is not null. Do not write only, but use. Otherwise, you will treat 0 as a null, which may not be what you wanted. Let's try strings. String with some characters evaluates to true, whereas an empty string is treated as false. Alright, so what about collections? We can demonstrate using lists and maps. A list with several items evaluates as true, whereas an empty list is evaluated as false. What about the map? A map with one or more items is evaluated to true, whereas an empty map is evaluated as false. So lastly, what about object references in general? When a variable has value null, it's evaluated as false. When you have an expression with true and false values, you can also use Boolean operators. Let's start with the example of NOT operator. Here we make an opposite value of empty list. But because empty list evaluates to false, then the opposite will be true. Now let's show one example of an AND operator. The AND operator will return true only when both sides will evaluate to true. In our case, the left side, number 1, is true, but the right side, the empty map, is evaluated as false. So the resultant of truth and false will be a false. So what about the OR operator? The OR operator will give you true in case when at least one side is true. In this case, both number 0 and null evaluates as false, so the result will become false. Now, coming up next, I'm going to share with you how this works with the ternary operators and where to be careful and not mistake it with safe navigation operator. So stay tuned for that, but first, like the video and then comment down below what other kind of questions do you have about Groovy language. For ternary operator, we will change the code sample. When you use the ternary operator for conditions, it behaves exactly the same as the if-else statement. So for example, a non-empty list will evaluate to true. And our previous example with value 0 evaluates here to false too. And now the important note. Do not mistake this with the safe navigation operator because it serves different purpose and evaluates differently. For example, you can see you do not get any result. The safe navigation operator is commonly used to avoid calling of a method on a null object so that you do not get null pointer exception during runtime. When we place a value to the variable, for example 0, then our object is an instance of a big decimal number, so it's not a null. and this line of code will proceed OK and return a value. You can click on the screen right now to learn more about a powerful feature in Groovy called closures, or to remember that even numbers are treated as objects in Groovy language. And I'll see you in the next one.